You're on.
Okay. Talked about this before, but I want to reiterate on this about with much power comes much responsibility. Talking to my son yesterday, I got an idea that I need to go through this again, and because this is something that is really hard to sink in. Inevitably, I talk to people with problems associated with mostly their relationship with God. Because when you don't have a correct relationship with God, you don't understand that God expects us, even though He gives us great power to control, keep that power under control. Moses was such a man. The Bible said he was raised in the king's house, but he chose rather to leave the king's house and to go with the people of Israel, who was his brethren, and the people of the Lord, rather than to enjoy the pleasures of that life for a season. And that shows you the confidence Moses had within himself. He knew that a great power abided within him. And normally, people that have such things in them know that it's there. They know that it's there. In the movie called Spider-Man, his uncle told him, and it's something like, honey, get this flash of water and kill that skeeter right there. That's it. Big one. He went behind the thing there. The Spider-Man's uncle made that statement: with much power comes much responsibility. And that's something that every grandparent or parent should eventually talk to their children about, because somewhere along your life you're going to be tested with certain kinds of power. Excuse me, some of them greater than others. King David was such a man. The Bible says of David, when he was a young man, that he walked out on a field, and the Bible said he was ruddy to look at, but it was what was inside of him that made the difference about who that he is, and the things that he knew that he could accomplish. When he walked before King Saul, he says, a bear came out, and I grabbed that booger and I tore him limb from limb, and a lion came out and I grabbed him by his beard, and I done the same thing. And that's a paraphrase, of course. But there was a confidence inside of him, and I can see this confidence inside of my son. And it's a lot of times, man, this confidence can give you the appearance that you have everything under control, and really you don't. And I think the Lord sends things to us that in that fashion to show us that we don't. You may still have the confidence, you may still have the ability, but the control is really in God's hand. It's really in God's hand. You can really mess up your life. This is the 1 Samuel 29:5, what was said about David. It says, is not this David, of who they sang one to another in dances, saying, Saul slew his thousands, and David his 10,000s. He had more power than the king. More power than the king. Isn't that something? And the Lord wants us to, God imputes that kind of ability on people whom He desires. The Bible tells us that He lifts up one man and puts down another. If you're rich, the Lord allowed you to be rich. If you are poor, God allowed you to be poor. If you are sickly, God allowed you to be sickly. If you are extreme health, if you're 80 years old and you're like Caleb of old, and you can run up a mountain, then God allowed you to have that. God allowed you to have that. And He chooses. The Bible, He picks up one man and puts down another. He picks up one man. Now, does He do that in every person's life? The Bible gives no indication that He does. But He certainly does choose a lot. There is extreme indication that God chooses to work in, I would say, over 50% of the people's lives at a time. I think maybe the only time He will just let a person go is when He's seen that person has turned away from God, and there's no point in trying to reach him. Just let him go and enjoy his life, because that's all he gets. And the Bible does say that God will do that. He said, but I think everybody else, I believe with everybody else, God is working in their lives. So that would take its percentage much higher, probably 90% of the people God works in your life, and could even be higher. I don't, there's no way of telling exactly how many people God has taken His hand away from. It's a dangerous thing. So one thing the Bible says, the dangerous thing is to fall into the hands of an angry God. If God isn't working with you, if there's nothing, you're having no troubles, money's coming your way, and you know for a fact that it's not God doing it, that is, you have gotten it with your own hand, I would be worried, because you will one day face God for the onslaught of ignorance, and it is ignorance because you have ignored those things of God in this life. It is dangerous to fall in the hands. Every man, listen, every man falls into the hands of an angry God who has turned away. There is no man that escapes. It is once appointed unto man to die, and after this the judgment. You will not get away from it. Two things. There's no saying in this life. All you have to really do is live and die and pay taxes. Well, there's one more thing they left out. They left out face God after this life. They left that out. So, and that's the instruction I'm giving to my son. With much power comes great responsibility. The more power, the more responsibility. The office of the president. You can see this so clearly in the office of the president. This last president that we've had, his term is about over, thank the Lord. He become a lame duck, so he done everything with signing the pen, signing the pen. And I don't want to get into that, but you can see how he has abused the privilege of the power of that office. He calls it helping the innocent. Listen, lawbreakers are not innocent. People that break the law are not innocent. People that come into this country illegally are not here innocently. Those folks are not innocent. The lame street media, they portray them as though they are innocent. They are not innocent. They're no different than somebody who's just robbed a bank. They're criminals. They come here illegally. They're criminals. Are they in a pitiful shape? Yes, but they got themselves in that pitiful shape. They try to bring their culture over here. If they come here illegally, they bring their culture with them, and they begin to do all the same things that cause their country to be failures. And our president can't see that. He can't see that. The immigrants of old, they didn't come into this country carrying an Iraqi flag. They come in this country carrying an American flag. And when you're at the top, when you're at the head, you can't see when an enemy is coming in. That's why I call it Obama's Trojan horse. When they come here and get the signal thing. And that's my signal. Alrighty. But if you live your life like this, you're going to end up in the same tragedy. You're going to end up in this country has not been in such turmoil in the 62 years that I've been alive. People been at one another's throats. The place where I work, you know, people are ready to start swinging on each other when they talk about this guy. And then the lady that's following him is worse. She's promised to do all this, you know. No doubt to me that she'll try to keep that promise, to keep this country under an evil rule. One trying to fortify, you know, the things that they believe in, the things that they live. If you live in a lie, listen, only corruption can follow that. Only corruption can follow a lie. Alright, God bless you. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next time. Another great message right here, Crossing the Shoe Ministry.